Well, good morning, everybody. Before I introduce our speaker, a personal thank you to all you from me for all you do for our young people and the impact that you make on them. And I urge you to stay strong, stay in the fight, and keep making that impact on young people, because that's what this is all about. And you guys, all of you know that. When the memo came out, or the email on trying to get volunteers to introduce speakers, and I saw Tom was speaking, I immediately jumped on that. I want to introduce Thomas Rohling. And I got that back right away, so it's my privilege today to do that. Thomas Rohling is completing his 21st year at his alma mater, Samford University. He was a 3-year letter winner and graduate assistant football, strength and conditioning coach at Samford. Tom was hired in 1998 when Samford Athletics decided to create the position of department-wide strength coach for all sports. Thomas held the position for 9 years, designing, implementing, and supervising the strength and conditioning programs for all 17 sports. In 2007, a football-only position was created along with 2 strength positions for Olympic sports. Thomas now oversees the design, implementation, and supervision of the strength programs for baseball, cross country, men's and women's tennis, and track and field. His wife of 26 years, Christine, is a former cheerleader and alumnus at Samford University, for which he calls the best recruiting and sales job he's ever done. I can speak to that myself, Thomas. Thomas and Christine are the proud parents of 3 children: Connor, a rising junior, a member of the Samford University football team; Colton and Cheney. And just one more personal note, that's the most impressive thing about Thomas, and I've got to know him over the years. We can't be 3 minutes into a conversation and he talks about family, and that's what kind of drew me to him. Thomas's topic today: tubing, throwers, 10, and poles. There's more to baseball than this. Please welcome Thomas Rohling from Samford University.
Thanks, Coach. When I turned that on and I heard the feedback, now I know how Monsignor Mueller feels when he starts.
up in bed, looks me directly in the eye and goes, "You better not screw this up." So no pressure there. But thank Coach Reeves. I got this invitation indirectly when calls went out for introductions for people who could speak. Automatically recommended Dr. Tyler Williams in our exercise science and sports medicine. He's given a talk right after us up against Mike Boyle. I'm going to take in both of those, okay? And thanks to Coach Stiggins, Miss Becky, and their staff for having the fortitude, the vision to put together this governing and certifying organization. Before this, we had a certifying organization, but we didn't have much of a voice. We didn't have much leverage. We didn't have a seat at the table until they put this together. So thanks to them and their staff. And it's ironic that I'm talking here in Kansas City because in 2011, when I was blessed with the designation of master, obviously my family made the trek with me, but because of the collegial, familial atmosphere they put together, my family just about makes it every year, okay? That's the atmosphere they put together, all righty? And for you coaches who showed up this morning, let's face it, it's cold, it's overcast. You know, for those of us in the South, in Alabama, North Carolina, Mississippi, Georgia, we just left 87 and humid, okay? So this is somewhat of a shock to us. But thank you, because I'll tell you what else, you could be networking, you could be fellowshipping with other coaches. I'm not going to say you could be sleeping late, because you know well in our profession we don't sleep late if we sleep at all. So thanks for showing up. I also know I'm up against coaches from Mississippi State, Texas, and Louisville. So thank you for showing up. And also, thanks to those coaches who either gave me my start, believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, mentored me, always answer and return my phone calls and open up their facilities and their knowledge. And it's got to start with Todd Stroud, assistant head coach, D-line coach at the University of Miami. He was my coach in football at Samford, and he's who I GA'd under for football and strength and conditioning. Chip Sigmund, you know, you never know who you know. Okay, Matt, you know this, you work with him now. At the time, Carroll McCrae was the offensive line coach at Samford. Well, he had a gentleman who was his best friend. They went to school at App State. It was Chip Sigmund at the time. He was the head strength coach for the Charlotte Hornet and Charlotte Sting. Put us together, and he started mentoring me mainly on basketball, but other sports too. And he, like on the road with either the Sting or the Hornets, he would call me just to see how things were going. Okay, just to see how things are going. And those two coaches showed me right there that in our profession, there was another way to get your athletes to perform outside of, you know, the militaristic drill instructor way of doing things. All righty. Ben Pollard and Kevin Yoxall, ironically, simultaneously, Coach Pollard was at Alabama, Coach Yoxall was at Auburn. All righty. Those two guys right there, as long as I called ahead of time, I could come and watch a workout conditioning session anytime I wanted to. Okay, didn't matter. They opened up their workouts to me, so I haven't forgotten that. Terry Jones, University of Alabama, give you an idea of what he'll do for you. We were mainly going over track and field. He goes, "Do you have a thumb drive?" I said, "Sure." I got it. He stuck it in his computer. He downloaded, I guess, 35 years of experience on that thumb drive. No questions asked. And finally, Coach Manny. Once again, you never know who you know. In 2012, we had a staff turnover in basketball. Ironically, Anthony Sakosha comes aboard as director of basketball operations. He goes, "Dr. Witt, you just missed your intro. This guy getting to speak after me, he's the reason I'm getting to speak." Okay? Make sure you take in his presentation, please, because I'm going to. But as Coach Manny has said, ironically, when he talks to you, very rarely will you talk about this profession, but somehow he'll talk about life, mentoring, what you're doing in your life, but it will come back to how it can help you in your profession, okay? Give back selflessly. Professionalism is largely defined by how you treat people and the value you add to their lives. That part is often missed here, and that is especially magnified by how you treat those who can't help you directly in the moment or in the future. Give without expectation. Brett Bartholomew. You're going to hear a lot of that in here. But one thing you're going to hear Coach Stiggins, and the reason I address him as coach as opposed to doctor, I think personally coach is a more honorable and a more respectful title, okay? Because now you're in this organization, you're going to see the impact he's going to have on your life, okay? Leave the ground a little richer than you found it, okay? Leave this profession better than you found it. Never forget the home team. Finally, thanks to my wife, Christine, for her selfless and unwavering support in this journey. She has selflessly been my biggest motivator, cheerleader, sometimes my biggest critic, and definitely my unlicensed therapist. To give you an example, unwavering critic. Monday night before I fly out Tuesday, I went over this one more time. Computers at the dining room table. She and my daughter Champ are sitting on the, she's 10 years old, sitting on the couch, listening to it. It's over, and here's my feedback. I thought I was going to get, boy, that's good. You nailed it. She goes, well, first of all, you said too many times. You stammered, you rambled. And my daughter goes, Dad, you lost me. So, let's hope I do better. But you know what? I've learned in this profession, and I heard Mike Tyson say it, stay humble, because guess what? When humility finds you, it's not a lot of fun. It's not a lot of fun. And usually it's in front of a lot of people. There we go right there. If any of you are from Georgia Southern, what you can see in the background is Paulson Stadium. That's in 1990. And I heard Lou Holt say this, and nothing could be more true than me. You're looking at it. Behind every successful man stands a very surprised mother-in-law. Or father-in-law, or in my case, father and mother. Because Christine and I just celebrated 26 years of marriage. Okay? My mom calls to say happy anniversary, and you know what I hear in the background? My dad. I still can't believe she's been married to you for 26 years. So, thanks, Dad. So, but she, along with my son and my daughter, were going to make the trip here. My oldest son at Samford, they're going through finals. But as you well know, for those of you that are married, you have children, life at home doesn't stop. We have a spring football jamboree for Vestavia High School. My daughter Champ, she's going through competition cheerleading tryouts. And let me tell you this, I've had 2 sons go through travel baseball and travel basketball. Competition cheerleading is something else. I know I'm being videoed, I don't want to say, I'm telling you something, it is something else. They had their national competition at Disney, Wild World of Sports. I had a dad walk by and look at me and goes, do you need any glitter? I went, for what? He goes, to put on yourself. I went, I'm good. I'm good. So, but the things we do for our children. Thank you, Mike Boyle, for this quote. There are 2 kinds of public speakers, those that are nervous and those that lie. I'm the first one. Now I know at 8 o'clock, one of the leadoff batters, I know how Brandon Fryman feels, our leadoff hitter. Okay? I hope I do as good as he does. What you're about to hear is a conglomeration of other experts' ideas. Mike Boyle, Brett Bartholomew, Ken Manny, Ben Pollard, Simon Sinek, and Kevin Yoxel that I've somehow managed to weave together in a semi-coherent presentation. Good artists borrow, great artists steal. The more you cheat, the better you'll coach. Steal and steal often. Steal as much as you can. Let me be real honest with you in this presentation. I've had very few original thoughts. Okay? But I'm going to tell you this, and this is the only bloviating, pontificating, and pomposity you're going to hear out of me. I can steal better than any of y'all. Okay? Example. As a rule of thumb, I do not travel with the Samford University baseball team to the SoCon tournament. Reason is, Coach Rod Tiffin has just put together a phenomenal track program. At that time of year, we have many of our tracksters going to regionals or competing this weekend to qualify for regionals. So being the track and field strength coach, I stay behind to do their workouts. At the same time, the SEC baseball tournament is in Birmingham, Alabama. So through professional courtesy, Coach Dunn opens up the baseball field for all SEC teams to come and practice. Dovetailing with that, we open up the weight room. Now you might hear, man, that Coach Rohling, Coach Ferris, Coach Lando, God, they're great guys. You know, they open up that weight room, we can let, no, we're not. Nothing, trust me, we're not that altruistic. I tell Blaine Kinsley, Blaine Kinsley, Arkansas, Jeremy McMillan, Texas A&M, when they come in and lift, we're robbing you blind. Trust me, you think we're out there, fellowshipping with you. I'm watching what your players are doing. I'm going, how will this work for us? So, trust me, yes, professional courtesy, yes, but if your team comes to lift in our weight room, we're watching it. If there's something we feel you do can help us, we may or may not ask your permission, okay? If you feel like you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. Okay, what do I mean by that? Let's take, for instance, let's talk calculus 4. If you master chapter 1, but you never push on to chapter 2, do you ever get any smarter? Okay? That's what Simon Sinek talks about, the finite and the infinite game. The finite game is, I stop at chapter 1. The infinite game, this profession is a journey. Your postseason accolades and accomplishments are a journey. The journey ends, and I'm going to tell you this, the journey ends, the learning ends the day they, what's going on, Coach Carpenter? Another one of our interns. It never ends. It'll end the day they plant me, okay? The day they plant me. Programming. We are all apprentices in a craft in which no one ever becomes a master. Ernest Hemingway. Our number one job is to reduce the risk of injury while improving performance. We are not creating, we are facilitating growth and development. I picked up the next one from Dr. Alan Young, our chair of our Department of Kinesiology. Dr. Williams, is the Department of Kinesiology? I know they've changed with the College of Health Sciences. Another promotion. But when I was working directly under him, teaching a class, and we were talking about strength conditioning, he got his master's under Dr. Mike Stone at App State, and he said Dr. Stone told him, what we do as a profession, it's art backed up by science. Okay? It's art backed up by science. In our training program design, it's all about the when and the where. How much time and how many days are you allotted? What other sports will be on the floor simultaneously? Maybe I should have said this at the beginning of the presentation, which if you want to get up and, no, it's nothing controversial, but if you want to get up and leave, I understand it. If you're a strength coach who only works with one or two sports, you have your 18,000 square foot weight room with your 30 racks, and you don't have other sports on the floor simultaneous lifting, this probably isn't the presentation for you. However, if you've got 3 or 4 sports on the floor, you may have 2, you've got to figure out the traffic patterns, and you know what, for those of you in that situation, I'm sure your head coaches understand, but at the end of the day, it's still the, hey, don't tell me about the labor, just show me the baby. I understand it's crowded, but we still got to win a conference title. Then this talk is for you. And guess what? You have to learn how to make that work, okay? You have to learn how to make that work. Programming. Our template, we go 4 days a week, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. How is this template set up? Folks, we're an academic school, okay? Well, I think we're an academic school. I graduated from there, so maybe we are, maybe we aren't. But at Samford University, and I've got 2 former baseball players here that, come on in, that will attest to it. You get your class schedule first, you get your practice schedule, then you get your weight schedule. But guess what? So do Coach Ferris' sports, so do Coach Landol's sports. Alrighty? We've got to figure out how to make this thing work. Strength is the body's ability to develop tension. Our weight training cements neural firing patterns. We're trying to create more efficient neural firing patterns. Know why you do what you do for the sport of baseball. Okay? Programming philosophy. Our programming is designed according to the latest science on the nervous system's adaptation to stress. Yes, we do Olympic protocols. Okay? We do Olympic protocols. I'm going to deviate a little here. It goes back to 2003. Coach Manny, I don't know if you were there in 2003. It was a sport-specific conference in New Orleans the NSCA put on, and Bob Alejo was presenting. And I'd been watching how baseball lifts, and I was like, why are these guys doing like high reps, low weight? Because that's not the way the sport is played. And I'll never forget, he was standing up there and he goes, I think he was with the Oakland A's at the time, and he goes, why shouldn't baseball lift heavy? Okay, why shouldn't they? And I thought, maybe there's something to this. We do Olympic protocols from the hang position. Reason being, that's easiest to teach from. Okay, that's the easiest to teach from, and from the hang position, guess what? Everybody starts from the same position. I carried that over from when I worked with basketball. I remember Mike Boyle giving a talk from, you don't want a 6'10" guy getting down into a power clean stance. Okay? Everybody starts from the same position. It's also the easiest to teach from, with the primary focus on improving the neural response in the stretch shortening cycle. Baseball is a ballistic explosive sport, therefore that's how we program and train. At the end of the day, we use the hang. We emphasize a triple extension through pulling movements. Why? Your pitcher's going to drop and drive off the rubber. Your hitter, he picks out a pitch, he's going to load that back leg. Your center fielder, he catches the ball deep center field, he's got to turn around, throw that thing home, he's going to crow hop it. We load and explode through the triple extension. Therefore, that's what we emphasize. We use a variety of loads. We squat, and we squat heavy. Okay? That's one thing Coach Dunn does a great job of. He recruits guys that like the weight room, and in our recruiting spiel, of which I'll cover later, I tell them in the recruiting talk, if you do not like to lift weights, don't come to Samford. Okay? Don't come to Samford. Because the culture in the weight room, it's one of those, and it started with these 2 gentlemen right here. All I have to do is keep the steering wheel and keep the car on the road. okay? Keep the car on the road. We do pull-ups. Yes, we do. We do pull-ups with chains, okay? We do, once again, these are the kind of players Coach Dunn's recruited. I'm not going to temper it, and we've had success with it because I just finished a book called Team of Teams by General Stanley McChrystal, and he said, if it's stupid and it works, it's not stupid, okay? We deadlift and we deadlift heavy. I'll cover that a little bit more in dealing with personal trainers. We throw medicine balls, we throw heavy, and we throw ballistic. We don't maintain, folks. We don't maintain. Maintain means what? You're not getting any better, okay? We want to be as strong or stronger in a couple of weeks when we get on the bus to go to Greenville, South Carolina to play at Floor Field in the SoCon tournament than when we were in February when we started practice, okay? In general, we do not seem very adept at considering the possibility of randomness and the uncertainty into our predictions. Playing devil's advocate, what I mean by that. Do you play what if with your program? I know we all want a program, we want a template, we want to go through the season, but folks, things are going to happen, okay? And yes, play what if. I know you're going, really? Yes, play what if. You don't want to get blindsided. And if you work with baseball long enough, what are you going to do when your Friday night starter goes down? What are you going to do when you're starting? And trust me, I've learned this, I'll cover this later. You think your Friday night starter going down is bad? Wait till your starting catcher goes down. That's when you find out what bad really is. Because now you've not only upset the head coach, and getting hurt may not be your fault, but if you want to keep the pitching staff healthy, keep the catcher happy. As I said, I'm a Boston Red Sox fan going back to 2007. They win the World Series. They're wanting to start flagging Jason Varitek around his trade bait. Josh Beckett, Kurt Schilling, Clay Buchholz, Jonathan Papelbon. They go to Theo Epstein. They said, you trade him, you can trade us. Said he's only hitting below 225. He said, I don't care. I'm happy on the mound, and I'm happy when he's behind the plate. By the way, he retired with the Boston Red Sox. Core training. Oh, core training. How many of y'all with your baseball teams, they want to talk about core training, but they probably don't want to talk about core training the way we talk about core training? Why? Coach, I want a great looking set of abs. I want a set of six-pack. Okay, folks, a great looking set of abs, let's say what we see. It's a low percentage of subcutaneous fat, okay? It is what it is. Our core work is designed around stability and the transfer of power. You can't fire a cannon from a canoe. You have to stabilize your strength and your power to be able to transfer it, okay? Think of your core region as anti-rotators, not movers, Porterfield and DeRosa. Core programming. We do our core work, whether it's stabilization for time or strengthening for reps in all three planes of motion, sagittal, frontal, and transverse. Stabilizing progressions are accomplished using time, increasing the time weekly while loading with weight. What we mean by that, week 1 of your microcycle, 3 sets of 15 seconds, 25-pound plate on your back. Week 2, we're going to progress to 20 seconds. Week 3, 25 seconds. Week 30 seconds. You go into week 5, now we're going to take off the 25, put a 35. Once again, 15, 20, 25, 30. Now, week 9. Now, you're probably going, Coach, these are college athletes. We might want to go a little heavier than a 25. I'm doing it as a basic, simplistic example. Look at the picture right here, okay? He's got 205 pounds on his back. He's holding it for 30 seconds. That's our former pitcher, Parker Curry, who is now with the Los Angeles Dodgers organization, pitching at Tulsa, if I'm not mistaken. You're looking at an individual at a height of 5'10" and 175 pounds, okay? We use progressions by coaching with our eyes. Pick that up from Coach Jones at Alabama, observing form and technique. If it doesn't look right, then it isn't right, okay? For us, form and technique, it is a beauty contest. Remember how your players lift, their form, their technique, that's the way the rest of the world, that is the window the rest of the world sees your program, okay? Working in the transverse plane. When training the core dynamically for strength, we train in all three planes of motion, but for the purpose of this talk, I'll focus on the transverse plane since baseball is a rotational sport. Rotation occurs in the spine, it occurs in the hips and the pelvis. We train the way we play. Thoracic mobility or rotation occurs in the chest, shoulders, and rib cage. So from the top down, it starts in the thoracic region. Remember thoracic mobility and lumbar stability. Those are our goals right there, okay? The overall range of motion in the lumbar region is 13 degrees, Shirley Sarman. Don't create range of motion where it was not intended. Communicate, and remember, it's about getting the players to understand, okay? I know as coaches, I know at least I did, you want everybody to think you're the smartest guy in the room, okay? But if the players don't understand, it doesn't matter. And I learned that the hard way. Communicate in terms and analogies that they understand, not what you understand. Tell them to think of their core in the dynamic sense as a transmission for their body, transferring ground-based power generated by your legs and transferred either out the barrel of their bat or through the end of their fingertips at the release point for the baseball in the throwing motion, whether it's your pitcher on the mound or your center fielder crow hopping at home for a play at the plate. Core transmission. We chop, we lift, we twist. And in that transmission, here are variables. We do it from a half kneeling, a parallel, diagonal, linear, and one-legged. Now, as I told you, this was kind of my journey in reverse. I literally was working on this presentation, and I was listening to a podcast. I got Coach Bartholomew's permission. I didn't even bother to contact the young lady. Matter of fact, she's probably here. She may be in here right now. I don't know it. But he was interviewing this young lady about her progression, her journey as a strength coach. And she said, you know, and many of you I see are young in here, so y'all are probably either still in school or just out of school. And what they talk about in school, they do the kinesiology, the anatomy and physiology, the programming, the sets, the reps, and percentages, but you know what they don't cover? How to deal with people. I mean, we're in the people business, okay? It's about us getting people to do sometimes what they don't want to do. And I thought, you know what? That's exactly right. Because everything I learned was trial and error. Now, I'm not telling you how to coach. I'm not telling you how to change your coaching style. But what I am going to convey to you is the mistakes that I've learned over 30 years of coaching, okay? And as disturbing as this may sound, it's what they don't cover in school. And what I'm about to give you in a presentation, if I could turn back the hands of time right now, it's a conversation I would have with myself 30 years ago in 1990 when Todd Stroud brought me on as a graduate assistant coach at Samford University. Rule 1, protect your brain from your ego, okay? Look, we know we're good. I know you're good. We just don't have to tell the whole world, okay? You better have a strong self-confidence, because let me tell you something, what we do is on display every day, okay? What we do is on display every day, and it's going to be questioned. Now, when I did this, we're big time at Samford now. We've got our own letterhead now, okay? I took the sheets of letterhead, I put them on the wall, I put pitching coach, athletic trainer, recruiting, that coach, and staff dynamic. And I thought, wait a minute, why don't I just go to the baseball coaches and see what they think's important? So I put them up. I don't even remember what order they were in. But I remember Coach Dunn got them out, put them out, and he goes, pitcher number 1, pitching coach number 1, athletic trainer, recruiting. Okay, you're the head man. So I'm just telling you at Samford University, our head skipper, that's what he sees my job is important. Getting along with the pitching coach, getting along with the athletic trainer, recruiting. Issues of power, perception, and persuasion in politics hamstring elite sporting organizations just as much, if not more so, than any other variable. Debates about the best training modalities matter little if everyone isn't on the same page. Hey, he's consistent. Okay, he's consistent. Since Coach Dunn was hired in 2004, his directives for me haven't changed. Keep my pitching staff healthy, and all the players to at least look like in their uniforms they work out. Okay? If we don't have a lot of injuries in the labrum, UCL area, the only way I'm going to see Coach Dunn walk through that door is what he tries to tell me he did in his Iron Tribe CrossFit workout that morning, of which may or may not be true. Yeah, exactly. Pitching coach. Your relationship with the pitching coach is as important or more important than your relationship with the skipper. In your working relationship with the pitching coach, do you listen to hear and respond, or do you listen to understand? Do you seek to understand where they're coming from? Do you have a creative approach? What kind of skill set do you have to help him? And remember, the skipper hired the pitching coach. If you're on the Olympic staff, he didn't hire you. Who do you think is going to win that argument? A coach's perspective. I went to Tyler Stroud, our pitching coach. If you had your dream strength coach, what do you want? Here's what he sent back. A productive strength and pitching coach relationship, communication, the obvious #1 priority, the ability to effectively communicate with the pitching coach on the status of their pitchers throughout the year. Trust. Faith that the strength coach has a proven and effective plan to get our pitchers better. Faith that he keeps our pitchers healthy while increasing strength and mobility. Work ethic. Trust me, if work ethic is an issue in this profession, you ain't going to be in this profession long. Ability to push our athletes to be the best that they can be in the weight room. Pitchers are often our individual plans based on such things as starters and relievers. A strength coach needs to be available to lift guys 7 days a week, depending on their throwing workload. Also, we open it up to visiting teams. So if your teams visit Sanford University, they got a place to lift on Saturday and Sunday. Okay? Motivating and a positive attitude. As a pitching coach, I need our pitchers to want to lift. The season is a grind, and I want our pitchers to be motivated to lift. Bring a positive attitude each and every day. Organization. Clear and objective goals laid out to our pitchers. A pitching coach wants his pitchers to know what to expect in the weight room. ATC and orthopedic staff. All orthopedic and rehab staff is Andrews Sports Medicine Institute and ATI. You know what that means? Even I can't screw this up. Okay? They're allied healthcare professionals. We're not. As it relates to strength conditioning in baseball, especially at the professional level, ATCs have been around a lot longer than we have. If you're of my age group, you remember back in the day, professional organizations didn't hire a strength coach. I hired an athletic trainer. Guess what? You're the strength coach. They know how to talk to the skipper. They've been around a lot longer than I. Don't lock horns with them, okay? You will never win that battle. Our baseball mobility, stabilization, and strength templates and programming are based upon our ATC's evaluations and observations. The ATC can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Here's a story. It was either 2009 or 2010. I remember it's time for the baseball team to lift. Pitchers are coming in, and I see the pitching coach comes in with them. I get up, he goes, I got this. I'm doing their strength. This is February, right at the beginning of the season. I'm doing their strength programs the rest of the season. Wow. No warning, no nothing. Nothing had happened. He just decided he was going to be the strength coach for the pitching staff. Folks, you want to talk about a kick to your ego? That is. He goes, no, you got the rest of the team. I'm doing the pitchers. Hey, man, you're the pitching coach. Unfortunately, that season, we had more UCL, Tommy John surgery, and labral surgeries than in the history of Sanford baseball up to that time. Well, the summer goes on, and it's June, July, August. Coach Dunn goes, hey, man, are you around today? I mean, as strength coaches, when are we never around? But I went, yeah, I'm here today. He goes, well, can you come to the office? You know, I'd like to talk about the upcoming year and the strength program. Okay, so I'm walking there, and people go, boy, I bet that was the longest walk of your life. I said, no, actually, it was the shortest walk of my life. But I'm still thinking in my head what I'm going to say. And I remember, I'm sitting here, but his desk is this way. I don't remember why it was set that way. But he goes, hey, we need to talk about the strength program coming up. I said, okay. He goes, I want to start with the pitchers. I said, Casey, I didn't do your pitchers. He goes, I know. He goes, and you're going to do them. He goes, I'm going to tell you this. I told my assistants, you are not allowed in the weight room. If any of my assistants come to the weight room, you are to call me. Okay, remember what I told you here? The ATC can be your best friend or your worst enemy. And you remember who the ATC was at the time. He went to Coach Dunn, he went to our head athletic trainer, said if Coach Rohling does not do the strength program, I'm either quitting or I'm not working with baseball. I never knew that happened until 2 years after. Okay? I never know that until 2 years after. Do you meet with your athletic trainer daily? What kind of communication do you have with your athletic trainer? If not, if you, the athletic trainer, and the pitching coach are not on the same page, it's going to be a very rough ride. Okay? It's going to be a very rough ride. Oh, I thought it was ticking down on me. Recruiting. Are you an active participant or inactive observer? Are you an asset or a liability? You only get one chance to make a good first impression. Recruits don't want to be made to feel they're a piece of something, but a part of something. Remember, you're the coach these future players will be spending the bulk of their time with. Begin building and establishing rapport and trust, i.e. buy-in from the outset. With transfer rules, you never know if this encounter could pay dividends in the future. Folks, I'm going to tell you something. I've talked to players who went to SEC schools. In a year or two, they were back at Sanford. Okay? They were back at Sanford. Remember, infinite game versus finite game. It's a journey, not a destination. How much do you speak to the parents? Remember, you're asking them to trust you with their children. These players don't belong to you. Their parents have loaned them to you for the next 4 to 5 years. They want them back in as good or better shape than when they dropped them off at your doorstep their freshman year. Parents don't want back damaged goods. Emphasize to the parents, you don't have to be their child's strength coach, you get to be their child's strength coach. To gain the parents' trust and attention, do you have a personal story to add to your recruiting talk? And remember, as Coach Tuck always told us, you can't win a derby riding a mule. But there's something, now if you work at, can I see a show of hands, how many of y'all work at your alma mater? Bingo, okay? We've got something over y'all. We've got the personal touch. It's there in front of us. I tell them I played ball here, met my wife here, got my education here, now I work here, okay? I tell them if you want an objective opinion about recruiting here, you're not going to get it. I mean, this is home. So that's my personal touch right there. But parents, you never know when that parental relationship is going to pay off. And Coach Manny, you being from Ohio and working in Michigan, this name may sound familiar to you. Our starting shortstop is Brandon Fryman. His dad's Travis Fryman, that played years, All-Star, Silver Slugger, Golden Spikes Award winner, shortstop of the Detroit Tigers and the Cleveland Indians. He said, hey, you know, Coach, you need to come out to Goodyear, that's Arizona, where their spring training is, you know, and spend time with our staff. I was like, oh, okay, you know, it's just a parent, you know, we signed him, he's being nice. But he kept after me. And then finally it lined up with finals that I could go out there, and I went out there. And folks, let me tell you something. If you ever get a chance to spend, especially a club like the club, evidently I didn't know this, as far as the gold standard of professional hospitality and courtesy, I know now why they think the Cleveland Indians do it. That was the most phenomenal, as my wife called it, that was your Make-A-Wish Christmas gift. So it was the most incredible experience I ever had. I'm going to close it up with this. Tony David, our recruiting coordinator, a baseball coach's perspective on the strength coach's role in recruiting. In the recruiting process, we're accentuating the positives. These come in different forms from the obvious: win-loss record, number of players drafted, conference championships, NCAA appearances. For us at Samford, we spend a significant amount of time selling the marriage of the baseball program and the strength coach and its importance in our overall success. Words are great, but matter much more when there is a proven track record over some period of time. Our head coach and myself have been here for 15 years, along with our strength coach, who arrived well before us. In the player development, it's hitting strength, arm strength, pitching velocity, year-round plan, fall season, post-fall, winter break, spring season, summer. What does that tell you? Baseball, there's no longer off-season. Off-season doesn't exist in baseball anymore. Injury prevention and in-season recovery. Position player specific, corner infield versus middle, catcher, center field versus corner outfield. Pitcher specific, starter versus reliever. These are topics we spend the time selling in the recruiting process, from leading the nation in home runs to specific velocity increases, pitchers while limiting arm injuries. We have a long-term track record on the baseball field, and the strength coach's impact on all of those are measurable. It allows us to show potential student athletes and their parents how the overall process will help them stay healthy and develop as players if they choose Samford. Good, I got time to get this. Okay, this I feel is the most important, because this is going to be the number one pain in the rear end as a strength coach for you. That coach, clubhouse attorneys and locker room lawyers, how do you deal with them? Political savvy is yet another principle that falls under the umbrella of relevant coaching. Egos will ruin progress far more quickly and irreparably than exercises alone. This is the old classic: the coach or the player, for whatever reason, trying to make their bones or trying to impress their teammates, talking behind your back and undermining what you're trying to accomplish. So what do? I'm going to give you a hint. A frontal assault is almost always a bad idea. Okay? You got path number one is to ignore, work harder, outperform, and let the results speak for themselves. However, unfortunately, sorry guys, we got to confront it. How do you do it? How do you do it? You do it professionally. Here's something you may want to do. I heard you have some ideas I could use. I'd really like to hear them. I'm always open to ideas that will help us remain successful. Not above taking pointers, because at the end of the day, we're all working for the same thing. Situations diffused, and guess what? You just threw a shot across their bow. They'll know you still have the ear of the team because somebody told them what they said. Still let them know you're still in charge up to that point. I'm pretty sure I'm almost out of time. If you have any questions, I would be glad to hear them. Also, if you'd like for me to email you this PowerPoint, I would be more than glad to. I know I didn't have a lot of videos, but I thought it was because, remember, this is how I had my career in reverse. Starting with the pitching coach, you get that, the programming and everything else is going to take care of itself. Remember this: if you take care of the back end, front end will take care of itself. thank y'all for coming. I highly recommend you take in Coach Durking's presentation. And if I'm around, I will be around. If you need for me to email, or you have any questions, or if I said anything, hey, Coach, I think you're wrong. We've had success with this. Remember what I told you about stealing? Tell me. I'm going to take it. I'm not going to ask your permission, but I'm going to take it. But hey, thanks for taking the time to show up today. There are many other speakers you could have gone and heard.